And it's that disparity of treatment, disparity of what punishment there should be, and disparity of believability. And that's the most important thing. Just because she's a woman and she's accusing a man, the way the media fawned and focused is very interesting. And it's very interesting now where the apparent lies are coming out that the same level isn't attached to it. And the same focus on what she's done, which is really bad domestic abuse, but there's no equivalent treatment of her in the long term. It's false claims like this that undo the ability to get real, genuine rapes to court, because all the damage cases like this do, which is to have a blatantly lying person. It shouldn't have got to court with this evidence, should it? It shouldn't be allowed to get there. It's that farcical.
There wouldn't be any dissemination of the high quality of flat earth information, which I'm not ashamed to say it is. It's of the highest standard that there is. So, please support this show, smash the super chat, and all that good stuff.
That's what you do.
Do. Talking of do and Uranus, have you also been watching the Amber Heard trial? Because after Johnny Depp's testimony about her leaving a dump in his bed, on his side of the marital bed, quite literally, right? The hashtag me poo, because she's used the Me Too movement to slander him, started trending on Twitter. Hashtag me poo.
Well, they discovered Uranus through celestial colonoscopy.
Testimony, the turd.
Well, that's what she's been nicknamed. You're trying to get this pun in, and it's already been long done. So it's Amber Turd and the hashtag me poo movement.
Turd times the charm.
Turd times the charm.
But who's winning that case? I don't think Johnny Depp is doing good.
Who's winning? You got Johnny Depp who's had his finger chopped off by a crazy psycho woman throwing pots and pans and bottles of vodka at him to the point he loses a finger. He's on the stand cool as a cucumber detailing this and trying to be rattled by people saying, look, you swore at people about your bitch wife in a text message. I think he's doing pretty well.
No, but they're bringing his drug addiction in on it.
Oh, shocking. Film star that's a drug addict. Yeah, shocking. I mean, to be perfectly honest, when I heard his testimony, I was quite surprised to hear his spin on his drug use. Now, yeah, he's a movie star and he uses drugs, he's quite open about that. But their whole case is predicated on drug user equals wife beater. It's absolutely pathetic, in my opinion, but there we go, that's just my 2 cents.
What was she throwing at him, Nathan?
Pots and pans, vodka bottles, she threw a paint can at him, cups, you name it, she's a thrower.
Well, maybe that's where the line came from the movie, not the rum.
Where's the rum gun? My wife threw it at me.
She pushed the door open while he was taking a shower. This poor guy.
There's no two ways about the story that's been told, right? And I'm sure it'll probably pad out slightly differently when she's on the stand. Sorry, anyone who tuned in for Flat Earth. So if you're wondering, how have we got from Flat Earth and elevation angles and proving parallel planes and sky to Amber Heard having a dump on her marital bed and then throwing vodka bottles at her ex-husband now, Johnny Depp? Well, because there's very few subjects out there that, as I've just talked all about how I do it as my career, like most people, you want to kind of get away from that at some point. The problem on YouTube is almost everything is at some point going to turn into a flat earth bash. And you're like, oh, bloody hell, yet another channel. So I look for things that are very unrelated, mild interest in law. I've been through a few court cases, so therefore I've got a mild interest in the subject. To see what's going on in that particular arena when you've got a vague idea what a psychopath is. And, you can hear all the hallmark traits of somebody trying to escape. Trying to lock themselves in the bathroom, get away, and this nutter banging on the door going, you're not going to escape my fury. I shouldn't laugh because it sounds absolutely horrible. I feel really bad for Johnny Depp, actually. It sounded horrible.
That's the point. And this is why I'm following. In a world of equality, it's clearly being demonstrated the different standards that apply to men and women in terms of domestic abuse. She was on the other foot. He'd already be locked away.
Exactly.
They'll put certain show trials up on for everyone to watch, like the Kenosha Kid or the Johnny Depp thing. We won't be talking about those.
There's a connection between the pots and pans flying. If the ground was spinning underneath the pots and pans, she would have never connected.
Amber Heard's vodka bottle disproves Coriolis deflection. Right on. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple of quick shout-outs. So, shout-out to Sebastian, very much, all of you, for the super chats. We've run over a little bit, but as we're talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I'm tempted to keep the live show going just to talk about it, because we don't often span off the topic of Flat Earth in the live show, do we? But what the hell, man? This is...
I know why you're doing it.
Why?
So you can do it. It's for a clickbait thumbnail. I know your game.
No, actually, no. That wasn't the reason. No, I'm
I have a
genuinely
funny
interested. It is a
story.
good idea, though. I probably will now you've said it.
Yeah, that's what
In terms of this trial, it just interests me because I cottoned onto it I think it was probably 3 years ago. It's been going on a hell of a long time.
a
What
lot of
were you
this
saying,
stuff
Neil?
is leaked out
It's
beforehand.
interesting because it's been nice and drawn out, something to take my mind off the subject matter that I cover when I do want to unwind of an evening or whatever. So occasionally I'll stick it on and sit with my wife and we'll have a good old laugh about current affairs with celebrities. But as I say, I've got a mild interest in psychopathy. There's lots and lots of traits there. Far be it from me to say or accuse in any way Amber Heard of being a psychopath. I don't know. I don't have an MRI machine. However, there's plenty of traits of this thrower and her general abuse in terms of what's been just detailed out there. And up until now, it was always in documented form with people like that Umbrella guy talking about it. And it's not the same as the person like this celebrity. And I've got no admiration for Johnny Depp. I don't care either way. That said, Amber Heard sounds quite a laugh, actually. Now I've heard some of the stuff that she's done crazy, nuts. But I don't know, I find quite appealing sometimes, you know. And she does do some pretty out there drugs, right? She's on mushrooms, she's on a lot of MDMA, she drinks a hell of a lot of booze. I mean, I bet she's wild.
Good night out.
Yeah, man, I bet she could throw the best parties.
What about if it comes out that it's used against Johnny Depp that he's a flat earther? Because he is or something.
Well, that's what I was most impressed with, whoever it was from Discord, to wheedle in Coriolis effect into that trial. And
That was class.
with validity, yeah, class. But when they throw it at him, he can go, well, when she was throwing these things at me, get a tacit admission, yeah, I had to move this way by an inch because of Coriolis.
So you could have someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson saying, as the vodka bottle flew through the air, it took a 1/4 inch deflection to the right and then took off his finger.
When I was reaching for it, it was not where I thought it was because of refraction.
When she threw it, she was assuming that there'd be a Coriolis deflection that just didn't happen, and that's really what happened. So technically we can blame Globe Earth not turning on it. Not as far-fetched as some of the defences we'll probably hear going forward in this particular instance. But there we go.
Dismissed. Case dismissed. Yeah.
It's as good a globe proof as I ever heard.
Actors.
One of my favourite lines was, have you taken drugs with Marilyn Manson?
Hunter S. Thompson?
Well, Hunter S. Thompson's a different story, because when he talks about Hunter S. Thompson, which was in his opening, he talks about, and I believe him, you can't be shit-faced when you're acting. You know, you couldn't pull off Fear and Loathing, that Hunter S. Thompson's movie. If you're stoned, you can't do that. I mean, I'm a trained actor. I know what acting involves. And you can't be shit-faced. It's just not possible, you know, to pull off that sort of performance of being shit-faced, which is why it's ironic, and I get the point. In the case of Marilyn Manson, so Johnny Depp's being questioned about whether or not he's got drunk with Marilyn Manson. He's like, yeah, we've drunk together. And he's like, well, have you done any other drugs? And he's like, I think he alluded to have taken cocaine with him or something along those lines. But then he says, have you taken any pills with him? And Johnny Depp, so you can see that he's just trying to remember, did I take any pills with him? And he's trying to remember, and then it comes to him, he's like, no, but I did give Marilyn Manson a pill because the guy wouldn't shut up. Just talk. And you're like, this guy's having a battle of cool, basically, the defence counsel. He's like trying to out-cool Johnny Depp. And it's like, are you totally delusional? You know what I mean? You're never going to... The jury are going to be swooning, the general public are going to be... It's Johnny Depp, right? But yet thinks he's cool as a cucumber defence lawyers trying to have him over a barrel on being a drug addict because being a drug addict means you beat your wife. And when he does so, he's getting stories out of Johnny Depp about how he's basically given Marilyn Manson a Valium to stop him talking so much.
You can see the members of the jury going, oh, cool.
Oh, isn't he cool?
That is rock and roll. And
Exactly.
it's the worst poisoning of the well I've heard.
Well, exactly. Every time, that's the thing that endears him so much. Every time they try and poison the well, oh yeah, that was something I was going to talk about. Tactics that they use are very similar to debate tactics, right? For example, he's doing well. The defence lawyer's grilling Johnny Depp about this drug use, where he's either drunk or in rehab or something like that, and there's an airplane trip, and he's getting him on the ropes. But then when he gets to the conclusion, which is to do with him lying on an insurance document, where the insurance document for Pirates 5 or whatever says, have you taken drugs that were prescribed, illegal drugs, prescribed or otherwise, within the last 12 months? And he says no. Now, at this point, there's a bit of ambiguity, because at the incident that's been detailed by Johnny, it's less than 12 months. I don't know, it might be 8. Now, to you and I, so what, right? You're telling me no one's ever ticked a box on an insurance form and go, okay, who cares? Yeah, of course. And then just passed it back. So what? But the guy is trying to use this very weak point to have Johnny look like a liar. So when it gets to that detail, you ticked yes here, didn't you? The plaintiff's counsel, every time he's trying to get to this really important point that Johnny's lied, essentially true, by a couple of months on this form, they're saying, excuse me, could we just get a copy of this form as a form of courtesy? So the proceedings stop, the momentum stops, the defence counsel's fuming, he's storming back and forth, pacing up and down, because he's right on the cusp of having his point made, right? So then the proceedings start up again, and he's launching into the same question about this ticked box, and then another interruption by the defence counsel to get it redacted, where it says yes or no. It's got a black line through it, so they've got that removed, so that takes a little bit more time. Then there's another interruption from the plaintiff's counsel, because, hold on, this form might have some medical information that needs to be redacted. And you're like, oh, this is a bit weak. Bloody hell, are they going to get in trouble over this? And next thing you know, she says, because you made an order on it, didn't you, Judge, about it being very specific that we didn't have any medical details, doxing people again. She's like, oh, yes, we must take more time to make sure there's no medical information and all the redactions are correct. So that slows down the defence again. So he's still pacing back and forth. Then he finally, after all of this time, 5 minutes has elapsed. Maybe 7 minutes has elapsed, right? Does anybody remember the momentum for his monumental point that he's lied on this form? No. So then he asks the question, you ticked yes here, didn't you? And Johnny Depp replies, yep. And is there any impact? Nope. It's all been deflated by the plaintiff's counsel. All tactics. One of the reasons the debate took a turn at about show 100. Anthony kept pointing out that the tactics from our opponent's side on the Globe side would be when you were onto a winner and you're making your point and you're building your momentum, obfuscate the point as much as possible and let it segue off for as long as possible and then address the point. So it's not that you've just been a wanker and you've ignored the point. Do address it, but after all the impact's been lost from the person trying to make the point. Even concede it completely at that point. Who cares? Because the impact gets lost. And that's precisely what we saw yesterday, trying to make something of what they've got, which is very little, and they've got little to work with. I mean, in many ways, I do actually quite pity Amber Heard's defence team, because they've got very little to work with, and what they have worked with, the scraps that they've got, I mean, they're really trying, and when they do, you're like, come on, you can build this momentum, you can do it, you can get him to admit he's a bloody liar, right? He ticked the form. And the Sales have all the wind taken out of him just by a couple of clever questions here and there.
And on the form, it was only like 11 to 12 months. But he never got to get that point.
Zanuck tried to do yesterday, not to stop them from making a point, but to stop them from talking while you make a point. He's talking about celestial navigation in the sextant. I said, yeah, it's established from horizontal. And he's like, no, the vertical. And I was like, no, the horizontal. And I got a citation. The citation says, instead, navigators use a sextant to measure the angle from the horizontal as seen in figure 1.2 below. So then he's like, yeah, but I'm talking about an aviator sextant. I was like, a bubble sextant? He's like, yeah, because you don't need a horizontal. So then I type the bubble sextant established horizontal. And What do you know? The bubble sextant. The aircraft bubble sextant measures altitude above a horizontal plane established by a bubble. And then the second one, what is a bubble sextant used for? And the sextant designed for air navigation, a bubble, like the one in the carpenter's level, determines an artificial horizon. At that point, he's like, well, yeah, you establish a horizon and then da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, but that's what you were arguing against.
Talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp here.
No. Perfect parallel. So he's paralleling the obfuscation technique that I'm paralleling. Thank you for joining, Sleeping Warrior. So there's a second example that I called Sleeping Warrior about, which is, I'll just make your comment known from the chat, actually, Anthony. You said rumpusing in court, basically, right? Yeah, like rumpusing? Yeah, that's what you said in chat, Anthony, yeah. So rumpusing was what I was detailing when they interrupted with various different objections that were moot.
Yeah, tactics in court. It's watching them like... What was that tactical one that you told me about the other day when it was...
Amber Heard's current girlfriend, who is a journalist, on the front row of the defence bench, if you want to call it that. So she's not in the proceedings, but the assumption the judge said later was that she was part of the legal team. Now, at a particular point, there's a very key witness who's been in the Australia incident. I won't go into why she's important, but she's an important witness for Johnny, and she's being questioned. They interrupt her questioning, and the lead counsel asks if he can approach and presents the judge a phone. And on the phone, there's a cropped image of a tweet that this girl who's on the stand being grilled or being questioned by, in this case, the claimant. I can't remember what the term is. Plaintiff. And they stop it to show the judge that she's tweeted about the case. That's what the judge is told. So then the judge, in her wisdom, very smart judge, asks a couple of key questions in terms of what she's seen about the case, rather than what the tweet she's presented with, claiming to be something she's tweeted about the case. She asks different questions that will get her excluded, and they do. She answers and says, I've seen a few clips, and, why wouldn't you? Any normal person with a TV or a phone would, even if you're being questioned, and you shouldn't, but she's honest, she answers, the judge knew she would, she gets excluded. Job's a good one based on this text, or tweet. But the tweet has actually come from a year earlier in the case that's happened in the UK, and it's just had the date cropped off by Amber Heard's girlfriend from the stands. So, the following day, this girl, who's Amber Heard's girlfriend, who presented this phony baloney evidence and interrupted the proceedings, is also getting kicked out. They're ordering her to be gone. Hooray! She can't come back. Okay, that's called a tactical foul. So you want to get a key witness like that, who's a makeup expert and a key witness in a particular area where there was very few of Johnny's friends around. You want her on the stand answering certain questions that now won't get answered. And what? The crappy journalist girlfriend who's clearly just being used as a useful idiot gets kicked out. Wowee, she wasn't even a witness. So a tactical foul was employed. That was probably always the plan. She's lucky she didn't get any sanctions. But the point is, who cares if she does? She's not important to the case. But the person that she's influencing and getting kicked out for, or given the red card by a football analogy, is just a tactical foul. Windows open and that, like. Can't find the mute button.
It's not right either.
Sorry, I didn't realise I was on mute. Was it Hank Hill, Nathan?
No, it was Geo Strieber and Rumpus, and...
It was Brandon Toy.
It was Brandon Toy. Brandon Toy. So Brandon Toy was talking with Geo Strieber, or arguing with Geo Strieber, about whether or not eat Voss effect or et Voss effect was a real thing. And he'd asked for evidence, and Geo Strieber presented a graph. And Brandon had said, where did you get the graph from? And it was basically computer generated from the model. It wasn't measured from real world. And Brandon had spotted that it was generated within the model, and it wasn't measured in real life. It was just generated as per their model. And he was about to say, hang on a second, that makes this reification. And Rumpus had spotted that Brandon was going to do that. So Rumpus stepped in, made a scene, and then he intentionally or accidentally, unintentionally, whichever, gets kicked out. And the point gets lost. But had Rumpus not have interjected and made a scene and got kicked out, Brandon would have just said to GeoStreamer, hang on a sec, this is reification because this is not based on real world. And he would have won the point. It's very much like the guy in court that basically makes a point in court about posting something on Facebook or whatever, getting kicked out, and then that point gets totally forgot, lost, diluted, destroyed, And that's tactics, isn't it?
Even Tim Osman from the chat is more keen to hear about Johnny Depp, given that he's got no arguments for a globe Earth to defend anymore, given that nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, end quote. When you've got pictures that say this is Earth curve with pictures of horizons on them.
Would be very much against talking about stuff off topic, but for some reason he's inspired by this Johnny Depp case, which I have absolutely no interest in whatsoever. It's interesting when Nathan's calibration sliders are.
Yeah, it's just garbage, isn't it? But I like garbage.
Yeah. Garbage in, garbage out. Who cares? So we might have slapped his wife once or twice or didn't. It's not the end of the world, but it is to him, though.
Indeed, he do.
But we don't condone that on the show.
No, but who really cares? It's like, it's a police matter, is it not?
Well, no, it was never made a police matter. He's been Me Too'd into oblivion, basically, by Believe All Women. If you claim a guy has hit you, you're expected by the modern standard to believe that that is the case, to believe it's true. And that's precisely what has happened in this instance. She's come up with quite a far-fetched story now I know the ins and outs of it, and just expect it to be believed. And the embellishment is unreal. It started off with maybe 3 accounts that she said had happened. By the end, there's like 13, 14, 15 different accounts. She's embellished it massively. And the level of embellishment is ludicrous. You know, she's literally being dragged by a hair through broken glass. And you're like, what? And then the following day she'll be on the James Corden show, like the Late Late Show, with full studio lighting on her, without a mark on her, when she's claiming the previous day she's got a broken nose and broken cheek. It's just ludicrous. It is pathetic, but that's just my take on it.
But that's its plus point for me. You know, nobody's watching this thinking, oh, you know, poor old Amber. We're all seeing it, that it's more abusive from one side than the other. And it's that disparity of treatment, disparity of what punishment there should be, and disparity of believability. And that's the most important thing. Just because she's a woman and she's accusing a man, the way the media fawned and focused is very interesting. And it's very interesting now where the apparent lies are coming out that the same level isn't attached to it, and the same focus on what she's done, which is really bad domestic abuse. But there's no equivalent treatment of her, because it's just laying out truths there, and the public can see it. And that's the best thing for me. That it's being recognised that, irrespective of evidence, if a woman's saying something against the man, weak evidence is sufficient. And in the long term, it's false claims like this that undo the ability to get real, genuine rapes to court, because all the damage cases like this do, which is to have a blatantly lying person. It shouldn't have got to court with this evidence, should it? It shouldn't be allowed to get there. It's that farcical.
Exactly. That's what makes it the most interesting. The fact that the standards are so skewed. If the situation was reversed, it'd just be locked up immediately, and people would have been
slick though.
People would have been looking at it with a different light and maybe reporting it on his behalf, and the Rosses would have actually come round to arrest him if it was him doing what she has done. But instead, what seems like a fairly decent, heartfelt guy has been Me Too'd into the depths of oblivion just purely based on hearsay. And then when you look into the hearsay, the problem with it is she's not smart enough to have actually punched herself in the face and given herself a real bruise. So she's clearly put it on with makeup. Well, based on what's been shown so far, even in trial, it seems to me that the day after, there's nothing wrong with her. And everybody who's looked at her, one guy in particular who got within a few inches of her face after she literally said, he's hit me, the guy in question's like, where? She's like, here. She sticks her face out to offer it up for examination, and the guy looks all over her face and goes, there's not a mark on you, love. And then makes an excuse on her behalf. Well, obviously your beauty's for the one half of your face is making up for the other half or something like that. But you're like, these are people that are seemingly honest, reasonable people describing absolutely nothing like what she's describing. Contrast that with, he's thrown a remote and a phone at my face and smash bottles around and drag me through the broken glass and smack my head against a bed and tore hair out. You're like, whoa, man, I'd expect a hospital visit after that. But no, she goes on national TV under massive lights. You're like, this is just a blatant lie. But yet what? Cancel him for it? What? What's going on? How is this even happening? How has this even got to court? I can't quite believe it. But it is. That's where it's at. Unbelievable, yeah. Adam, good summary.
This is how the general public feel. I don't think there's many out there that hold an opposing opinion. So what's interesting is that juxtaposition. If you speak to anybody, there's the opinion we're hearing here. Yet, once again, the media is demonstrating, I think, and this is the good thing, they're openly demonstrating how much they lie and misrepresent the truth to us. And that's being demonstrated to the general sheeple now. I don't think there's anybody sitting there thinking Johnny Depp's a wife beater.
You know, he asked him one question, and Johnny said, "Was that after she chopped my finger?" Or something to that effect. I was like,
yes, indeed.
I'm not trying to defend him but it sounds to me that he's a bigger victim of domestic abuse than she is.
I agree.
And that's what's interesting, that his domestic abuse is derided.
And the thing is, he was married for what, 25 years or something? He's had so many years where he never touched a woman, and they could even testify to it. And all of a sudden, at 50, he becomes this tyrant wife beater. I don't know.
That's a crap defense. Absolutely useless. He's never killed anybody before.
I'm just saying. I mean, your character follows you. You just don't become a wife beater.
No, I agree. You know, from a character point of view, they've built up that narrative. But as a defense, it's useless. It doesn't mean anything. But on the other hand, when you're looking at preponderance of evidence in that regard, you go, where are the pictures of somebody with injuries? Well, there's lots of pictures of Johnny with actual injuries and people around him who are prepared to testify that they were so concerned about the injuries, they have taken photographs of them. And then you cut to Amber with a couple of what look like self-inflicted injuries on her arm, saying, yeah, he hit me and dragged me through glass. You're like, oh, really? Why do they look like they're about 5 weeks old then? And where's that bruise on your face gone? Didn't you have a broken nose? Yeah, it's just ludicrous. And like I say, meanwhile, there's Johnny Depp showing he's had his finger chopped off and, you know, bruises on his face and literal stuff that people are photographing of him because he's got damage.
She stuck the ice cream in his hand while he was nodding out and took a photo of him nodded out with the ice cream spilled on the couch. And he even said it. He goes, well, she gave me the ice cream when I was on the nod. She knew what was going to happen.
Right. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that's alleged to have happened. She's alleged to have stubbed a cigarette out on him and various other things like that. I mean, I don't know if any of this is true. This is what's being debated about or argued about in court right now. Like, literally right now, actually. So it's an interesting subject because of the gross imbalance in terms of how people will be accepted. And it's like, if the sentiment that Amber Heard puts across and has used with the Me Too movement was to be taken literally, then why hasn't it automatically been applied to everything Johnny Depp has said? It's just ludicrous because of that hypocrisy. Like, okay, you're saying believe it all. Well, believe all what Johnny says then. What you don't want to, well, that makes no sense, does it? Clearly, that's nonsense.